Welcome to the Runtime Error, the place where programming begins. I hope you're really enjoying the way I'm teaching you and you're really enjoying the coding part. Today we are going to deal with one of the most exciting topic called as strings. The strings are considered as more important part since it contains a lot more of questions during the interview as well. So we will be discussing some concepts of strings, some conversion of strings, and some inbuilt functions of the strings. And once we are done with this, what we are going to see is we are going to see some interview questions from the Leetcode, right? So I strongly recommend you to follow this playlist right from first part till my last part so that you can come across the string in more clear and depth way. So without any wasting time, let's get started. So before we start with the strings, let's say for example, I have the character data type as everyone is aware about it. Say for example, I have stored a character called as yum. Now what will happen for this? In this variable called as x, I'm capable of holding only a single character, right? That is my m. Now say for example, I want to store called as runtime. How can I store this? Is it possible that inside the x I am storing the runtime? Is it possible? Absolutely no. Because the point is this variable is capable of holding only a single character, right? This variable is capable of holding single character. So the point is, how can I store this string? So before discussing how can I store this string, let's relate it to something, right? When we try to relate one concept to another concept, it becomes a lot more easier to study. Now say for example, I have the variable called as num and I have initialized to 10. Now what will happen in the memory? Say for example, this is my memory, so it will allocate a space whose name is num, and what will happen? It will be contain value as 10. Now suppose I want to store a values as 10, 20, 70 and 60. Now the question is it possible that all these four values will be assigned to a single variable? Absolutely no. So for that purpose, what we did is we came across a data structure called as an array, right? This array, what it contains? It contains similar elements, right? Can I say a group of similar element? Like this. Here I declare the array of size 4. Now what it will contain? It contains 10, 20, 70 and 60, right? So in this fashion, I'm able to store all these four elements to a single variable. Can we do is same for this concept as well? To store this, can we declare a character array? Can we have the character array? Yes. So this is how we come across a term called as a character array or a string, right? So what I will do is, since I need to store a runtime, right? Runtime. Now what is its size? Its size is 7. So what I will do is I will declare a character array. Let's say suppose of size 10, right? Because I don't know what will be the size of my string, and simply what I will do is I will simply assign the string to character array, right? So this is how we declare the character array, so that we can store multiple character to a single variable, right? To a single variable. Now how does this string get stored in my memory? Let's discuss about it. Say for example, the runtime, right? I have runtime. Now in a memory, what will happen? It will create an array. It will start from R, U, N, T, I, M, E, and it also contains one extra pointer that is called as a null pointer. Now the question is, what does this null pointer indicates, right? So this null pointer simply indicates end of my string. So always remember, I will write it as a note. So this is more important part. Whenever we write something inside the double quote, right? In this double quote, compiler will by default put extra character, which is that one, that is null pointer. Just to make sure, this mainly help us to know end of my string. So I hope so you got me why do we need a null pointer, right? Whenever we write something inside the double quote, this is how I wrote a runtime, or you can write any string. At the end of that string, compiler by default will put extra character, that is called as null pointer, so that whenever we are traversing or reading or using the string, compiler will come to know that okay, this is the place where I need to stop, since there is end of my string. So I hope so you got me, right? So this is how we declare the character array. What we simply do is, it is simple. The way we declare the array, the same way we need to declare it. Say for example, I need to store the string called as, say for example, apple, right? I want to store apple. So what I will do is, I will simply declare the character array of size 10. You can declare the size of your requirement, and I will simply assign it as apple. And how it will get placed in my memory, it will simply get as A P P L E, and at the end we will have the extra character pointer, that is called as a null pointer, which simply indicates end of my string. So I hope so you understand how to declare the character array. Now let's check how to print the values of the character array. Since say for example, we got character array ch of size 10, and I have runtime, right? Now I want to print it. I can print in two ways. Right? One is using loop, and one is direct printing. So what we do is, here we go on traversing from first till my size. Do I need to go till the size? Now the question is, do I need to go till the size? Okay, let's keep this space empty, and I will simply increment my counter. And what I will do is, I will simply print it the way I print the array, right? Now the question is, I told you that this is the null pointer, which simply indicates end of my string, which means I don't need to check it further. So can I say in place of this, can I write like this, if my ch of I is not equal to null pointer, right? Let me erase this so that you can see it properly. Can I say ch of I is not equal to my null pointer and I plus plus? I don't need to use my size, because anyhow when I come across a null pointer, I am going to stop traversing my string, because it has already ended my string, right? So this is the one way to print the string, but the point is, you are trying to print a character by character. We are not printing the whole string at a time. Here we are trying to print a character by character. Simply here what we can do is, simply when you use cout ch, it simply prints the whole string at a time, that is called as a runtime. So these are the two ways to print your string. Now let's check one of the most important part that many people misses to learn when dealing with the string. Now say for example, so far what we did is, we stored a single word, right? Like runtime, apple, we stored a single word. Now say for example, I want to store a word called as a runtime error. Runtime space error, right? Here it is space. Now what will happen? Let's check. Say for example, I have declared the character ch, whose size is, say for example, 20, and I use as runtime space error. The point is, when I try to print this, my output is just runtime. But the point is, my whole string is runtime error, but I am getting the output as a runtime. What about this space and what about this error, right? What about this space and what about this error? Because I am not seeing inside my output, I am simply able to see a runtime. So what is the main funda over here? So let me tell you. Say, whenever we are dealing with a string which contains a space, there is one concept that is we need to understand about seeing, right? Whenever we come across a space or enter, scene, what does it assume is? It simply assumes it is the end of my string. Scene assume it as end of my string, or simply we can say that character array. But the point is, we still have a string after the space. So how we can deal with this? So for this problem, we got two different ways to read a string which contains a space. Therefore, to read strings which contains space, we got two ways, right? So the first part, can I say, the first part is called as getLine, and my second part is called as scene.getLine. Now what does it works, what is the difference between both of them? Let's see one by one. But the point is, first of all, I want to discuss this. I will discuss a getLine afterwards. So let's discuss a getLine. So first I will use as scene.getLine. Now so far what we discuss is, we discuss a character array, right? Character array, suppose ch, whose size is, say for example 40. Now I want to read input as runtime error, since we contain a space in between. So how do we deal with this? So getLine, and we got one more that is called as a getLine, and the second one is called scene.getLine. So what is the difference in between them? So for your information, let me tell you one thing, that the scene.getLine is mainly used for character array, whereas getLine mainly used for string data type. I hope you understand the difference between the scene.getLine and a getLine. Let me highlight it so that you can understood. Okay, so scene.getLine and getLine, so these are the difference between both of them. Now what is the syntax in between them? Now let's see. I got two different things. First one I'm declaring over here as character array. Size let me increase the size. Say for example I got size of 70 and I use as runtime error, right? And here I have declared the string data type, string str equals to runtime space error, right? Now what is the difference in between scene.getLine and .getLine? So the syntax of scene.getLine is, I will write as scene.getLine. So what I will write here, array name. What is the name of my array? That is ch. And what is the size? Size is my 70. But here what I will write, I will simply write as getLine scene, and what I will write after scene, what I will write, name of string, that is str. So this is the way of reading a string which contains a space of character array. This is the way of reading a string which contains a space of string data type, right? I repeat, this is the way of reading a string which contains a space of character array. This is the way of reading a string which contains a space of a string data type, right? This is really important. So if I want to write in general syntax, so how will I will write? First one I will write for scene.getLine. So it will contain a name of an array, right? Name of an array, and here will contain size. And for getLine, here it contains scene and a name of string. So this is the syntax. So this is the syntax of both the things we discussed. Here we discuss how to read a string which contains a space through the character array. This is where we discuss how to read the string which contains a space through the string data type. So I hope you understand what we discussed in this video. The first we discussed why do we need a string. So let's go up where it is. Okay, so the first way we discussed why do we need a string, because we declare the character which is capable of holding single character. But the point is, I need to store whole string. In order to deal with these problems, we related it to array, because even if the single variable is capable of holding single value, but if I want to store 4 different values, I make use of an array. In the same way, if I want to store more than one character, I simply made use of character array, right? It is the same way we declare the integer array. Now what we did is we checked how the character array is stored inside my memory. Here we come across one important part that is called as a null pointer. So what does this null pointer indicates? It simply indicates my end of the string, so that compiler can easily come to know that okay, this is the place where I need to stop. Right, now we saw why we need a null pointer. Then what we checked? Then we checked how to print the string. So it can be printed using two ways. One is called using loop and one is direct printing. So whenever we are printing with loop, what we did is, instead of here mentioning the size, we simply check is it contains a null pointer, because null pointer itself says that it is the end of my list. And here we use a cout, which is directly prints the string character by character. Then we check if we want to read a string which contains a space, then how to check. So we got two different concepts, that is called as a getLine and cin.getLine. So cin.getLine is basically used to read a string which contains a space to the character array, whereas a getLine is basically used to read the string which contains a space to the string data type. I hope you really understood the way I told you. Till then, have a happy coding.